He built their business from nothing. But then, she said he was pimping her out. But before we get there, let's rewind. Because just months earlier, Malak had barely survived losing everything. And then it happened. The rear of the car fishtailed violently. Right, left, right again. Fall, stay calm, center yourself. He thought the worst was behind him, but he didn't know yet that Monday would bring a different kind of collision. When the meeting wrapped, Malak was just starting to rise from his chair when he heard it. "You're fired, you're done, I never want to see you again." Malak didn't flinch, he didn't beg, he didn't defend himself anymore. Malak carried his box to his car, got in, pulled around the corner out of sight from the office building, and sat there. The longest car ride of his life was waiting for him, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't know what waited for him on the other side. Now, let's continue with part 4 of this epic saga. Malak took his time getting home that day. No rush. No reason to hurry back to a world that had just slammed a door in his face. It was only around 11 a.m. The roads were wide open, no rush hour, no traffic. Just my luck, he thought grimly. The one day I wouldn't have minded traffic to slow me down, I can't even get that. He laughed, out loud, a short, dry bark of a laugh, not from humor, but from the bitter irony of it all. The laughter faded quickly. Reality punched its way back in. He gripped the steering wheel tighter as the knot in his stomach grew. That nervous, sinking feeling you get when you know you're walking into a hard truth. The same feeling he used to get as a boy when he knew a beating was coming, but still had to climb those porch steps and walk through the front door anyway. Malak was not a man who ran from storms. He faced them, even when every muscle in his body screamed to turn around. As he cruised east down the highway toward home, the weight of it all pressed against his chest. The expectations, the dreams, the sacrifices. His wife was graduating in just a month, and now, this. He pulled onto a side road, parked under the shade of a mesquite tree, and broke down. Tears blurred his vision. He prayed, out loud, begging God for strength, begging for mercy, begging not for an easy path, but simply for the courage to endure the one he was on. After a few minutes, he wiped his face, pulled himself together, and drove the rest of the way home. When he pulled into the driveway, he sat there for a long moment, the engine ticking as it cooled. He took a deep breath, summoned what little strength he had left, and went inside. His wife was sitting on the couch when he walked through the door. She smiled at him, the casual, warm smile of someone who thought today was just another Monday. But as he crossed the threshold, she saw it. The heaviness in his step, the shadow in his eyes, the way he couldn't quite lift his head. He sat down beside her on the couch, took her hands gently in his, looked her straight in the eyes, an intensity there that she had never seen before. "I got fired today," he said quietly. Her smile faltered. She sat up straighter. "What happened?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. Malak explained, patiently, factually, without embellishment or anger. She listened, really listened. For the moment, her heart softened. She remembered the long nights, the early mornings, the exhaustion he carried for them both. She remembered how he had endured the passive-aggressive racism at his job, how they isolated him for not celebrating birthdays, for not attending Christmas parties. She remembered how they treated him like an outsider, and yet he still showed up, still worked, still produced results, because she was scared too. Still just a student, still without a business, no income, no safety net. But for that moment, they held each other up, until she said the one thing that shattered him harder than the firing itself. Maybe you should call Ted back. Ask for your job back. Maybe now that you've both cooled off. The words hit him like a punch to the ribs. Call Ted? Beg? After everything? After the racism, the disrespect, the betrayal? He felt his stomach turn, his heart plummet. The woman who knew him better than anyone else. The woman who had seen his struggles, his loyalty, his sacrifices, had just suggested he crawl back to the man who humiliated him. It wasn't just about the job. It was about dignity. It was about manhood. It was about the silent promise he made to himself as a boy that he would never again let someone own his soul. But he didn't show it. He didn't lash out. He simply stood up, quiet, controlled, and walked outside into the Arizona sun. Out there, under the open sky, he wrestled with the decision. Every part of him wanted to scream, to punch the air, to curse the world. But he swallowed it. For her, for their future, for the family they were trying to build. So he made the call. Ted picked up, smug, self-satisfied. Malak kept his voice steady. "I meant no disrespect, Ted," he said, "but I have to think about my family during this pandemic. Is there something we can work out?" Ted didn't even hesitate. "No, my hands are tied. The other employees don't want you back either. Translation: you're blackballed. You're finished here." Malak didn't beg, didn't argue. "Understood," he said simply, and hung up. Relief flooded him. The decision was made for him. There would be no going back, no chains, no begging. He went back inside, found his wife, told her the news without bitterness, without spite. "It's a no-go," he said. And then he disappeared upstairs into his home office. He didn't sleep in their bed that night. He slept on the small couch in his office, wrapped in silence, wrapped in solitude. His wife never came to check on him, not once. 2 days later, still in his pajamas, still hollowed out from the emotional beating, Malak got more bad news. A letter arrived in the mail, a cease and desist from Ted's attorney. It ordered him to shut down his Facebook page, shut down his website, under threat of a lawsuit. Ted wasn't just firing him, he was trying to erase him. Malak knew Ted's reputation. Ted never lost legal battles, and right now Malak didn't have the energy, the money, or the fight left in him to go to war. So he caved. He took down his work, silently, painfully. Another loss, another stone added to the growing pile. But by Thursday, something shifted. The spark returned. The wheels in his mind began to turn again. He hadn't spoken much to his wife over those few days, but as the sun rose higher that Thursday morning, he realized something profound. Maybe this wasn't a defeat. Maybe this was a release, a clearing of the old to make way for something new. He called his wife into the office, sat her down, took her hand in his. His eyes locked onto hers with an intensity she hadn't seen since the days he first courted her. That relentless, fire-breathing certainty. And then he laid it out. Not just an idea, not just a maybe, a vision. Malak broke it down step by step, piece by piece. They had the skills, the experience, the education, the contacts, the knowledge, and now, for the first time, they had the freedom. No bosses, no ceilings, no excuses. "We can build our own," he told her, his voice rich with conviction. Everything we've been preparing for, this is the time. And she agreed. And so they got to work. For the next 15 days, they labored side by side, building, planning, designing, creating. Late nights turned into early mornings. The house buzzed with activity. The tension that had haunted them for months was, for a brief moment, replaced by hope, by partnership. They launched an online-based naturopathic counseling business, bringing together her medical expertise and his unmatched marketing brilliance. And within the first 30 days, they cracked 5 figures. Malak had replaced his corporate income faster than he could have dreamed. And thanks to the settlement money from his totaled Audi, he covered their bills for several months in advance. No debt, no scraping by. They were good, for now. They were winning, together. But victory doesn't always bring unity. Sometimes it reveals fractures that had been hiding under the surface all along. It started subtle, tiny things. A cold glance here, a shorter tone there. And then one Monday morning, after a live show they had conducted together for their growing audience, the mask cracked. They were leaving the doctor's office where she had been seeing local patients. "I feel like you're pimping me out." Malak blinked. Did he hear that right? "What did you say?" he asked, careful to keep his voice neutral. "I feel like you're pimping me out," she repeated, her tone sharper now, doubling down. "Explain." She sighed, frustrated. "I'm the one doing all the work," she said. "All these TikToks, YouTube videos, live streams, seeing patients. You're just sitting behind the camera. Why don't you find ways to make your own money?" Each word cut deeper than the last. It wasn't just the words, it was the spirit behind them, the spirit of resentment, of dismissal, of disrespect. Inside, though, his mind was screaming, because he had heard these words before. Months earlier, one of her colleagues, a woman he had helped build a successful online practice for, had said something eerily similar. Ungrateful, entitled, short-sighted. That partnership collapsed not long after. Malak had pulled away quietly and her business had come crashing down without him. And now, here it was again. But this time from the woman he had poured everything into. The woman who was supposed to be his #1 fan, his teammate, his partner. Malak realized something in that moment. Something had shifted in her. Maybe months ago, maybe longer. And now it was only starting to show itself openly. He kept the anger bottled inside, but he knew he had to protect himself. Quietly, without fanfare, he started investing in cryptocurrency. A safety net, a private plan, a hedge against a future he could now feel slipping through his fingers. Over the next few months, even as their business continued to boom, even as they crossed revenue milestones that should have brought joy, there was a chill in the air, a coldness, a distance. The house wasn't a home anymore. It was an office, a battlefield of silent resentments, an empire built on a crumbling foundation. Malak didn't know it yet, but the seeds of their destruction had already been planted, and they were growing. But even after that first business success, Malak's story was far from over. There was still one final trial ahead, a betrayal from an unexpected place, one that would shake his faith and nearly cost him everything again. And what about her? How did a woman once destined to be a doctor, end up scrubbing airport toilets in a janitor's uniform? What really happened after the papers were served? And how did Malak go from heartbreak and betrayal to boarding a first-class flight beside the woman of his dreams? The answers are coming soon. You won't want to miss the conclusion to this story. Like, comment, and subscribe, and get ready for the final chapter of Malak's journey.